Good morning, traders. Welcome one, welcome all to the rainy day Pirate Traders live stream. It is pouring outside. My whole yard is getting flooded, and this is not a joke. I have ducks in my backyard right now playing in a puddle. Absolutely hilarious. Anyway, all right, so what are we looking at here on the chart? It reads as momentum. It reads as trending higher, breaking out of balance, looking to make new highs, but it also reads as pinned and reads as balance. Okay. So we got a trend up yesterday, and we even got a couple of late day sort of pokes to the upside, not quite a spike, but very close to a spike. All of that is bullish to see. But if we're thinking that this market is pinned, and that it has been for the last few trading days, to this area right here, around 75.45, well, then the move up yesterday may get sucked right back down again. Okay. Just like the move down did on Thursday of last week. It looked super bearish to close on Thursday, but then we came right back up again. Okay. So that same mechanism may be in play here. That's just what happens when a market is pinned. It can look like it's breaking out. It can look like it's going to make a new move, and then whoop, it just comes right back again, kind of out of nowhere. So this morning, we don't actually know which of those two things is happening. Are we actually breaking away and starting new momentum to the upside, or are we just still pinned and this was the push away that's going to get pulled back? So the way we will find that out is by seeing what happens at the chop zone high and the chop zone low this morning. So that's just straight up the overnight range. The high is basically the same as yesterday's high. So if the market gets up there and it gets new buying, we're definitely trending. And we can get bullish, and we can expect this thing to go straight to the moon in the days ahead. But if we look above and fail there, we should assume it's going to stay choppy and keep going sideways. And if we get below the overnight low and we get new selling, we should assume we're heading back down towards 75.45. Okay? That this market is still pinned, that we aren't going anywhere. In between those two, we just have to be patient. And it's the same thing I said yesterday at almost the exact same level. We only opened like 10 points higher today than yesterday. And so we just got to play it the same way. We just got to wait and be patient and wait for the market to break and pick a direction, because anything is possible here. I'd certainly lean more bullish. I assume this market wants to make higher highs today. That is because of the momentum that we had in the second half of yesterday, and the fact that we have so much weakness above that needs to be repaired. To me, it makes more sense for the market to keep going up here. But if we get below that overnight low and we start to get new selling down there, I'm going to change my mind quick. And I'm not going to be entering any trades, at least for the first hour, inside the overnight range. I'll just sit back, watch it chop around, and only if we get to that overnight high or overnight low, or at the end of the first hour, will I be able to start taking trades. If there's any questions on any of that, let me know in the chat. Welcome to the chop zone. Sideways we will go. Welcome to the chop zone. Which way it breaks, no one knows. Good morning to Tom, who said speed read. Well, I kept it short today, so hopefully you were able to speed read. Silver Media in the house. Bill is here. Kelvin, Jay in the house. ES Mark UK, welcome to you. Say Hey is here. ES Mark UK said, change my YouTube name to match my Discord, which I finally posted in today. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Welcome to the Discord. What name are you going by before here at the YouTube? So I know who I'm talking to. I always get confused when you guys change your names. Tom is here. Good morning to you. Willie T in the house. Shaco is here. Exploring CME. David. He says, overnight inventory is short, but the ticks show long. Yeah, overnight inventory is net short, but it's not that net short. I mean, it just went back to yesterday's fair price. So yeah, it's an interesting observation. We would normally expect it to have opened a little bit below zero and worked its way back up, but I don't have anything to make of that. We're back at zero now. So what happens from here? Do buyers step in? We turn around and come back up for the week high we just created at 75.88, or not, and we head down for the overnight low. The ticks can tell us from here because we came back to the zero line. So we can start looking for that momentum, that confluence. Percy is here. Trader Pat in the house. Chester is with us. Michael, good morning to you. Malang is here. Izmir. Esgray. Lily. Yes, Mark was Mark something. All right, Mark. Well, now we know. Rich is here. And a moment with Megan. Good morning and welcome. Enjoy the chop. Like I said, there's really not much to do until we get to the edge of the overnight range one way or the other. And that's really where we'll get an indication of, you know, at the overnight low, is this going to slingshot and start that momentum back up? Or are we going to break lower? And at the overnight high, are we going to bring in those new buyers and keep going? Or are we going to fail and keep chopping? Welcome to the chop zone. It's no fun for us. Kenneth Swinger says, hiya. Hi, y'all. Swear to God, YouTube is driving me nuts now with these fucking ads. I turned them off completely, and it automatically turns it on the next day. It's infuriating. All right, let me turn it off again. It says monetization off. Yeah, if you guys are getting ads, I'm not getting paid for it. YouTube is screwing me. All right, so as always, when we are in a chop zone, one level we like to keep an eye on is the halfback, which is currently right here at 75.78. If that holds as resistance, it means we're going to poke down and take an attempt at the overnight low. If we pass right through it, it just means more chop. We don't know if it's going to hold as resistance. We have no idea. That's completely random. But if it does, that should catch our attention and be a little bit bearish to see. So we're watching 78 for a smackdown on those ticks. Okay, watching for that resistance. Nope, more chop. More sideways, more grind. It's so choppy. Yes, it's choppy. Yeah, so I just looked it up, you guys. YouTube has changed their policy. They can now run ads whenever they want. And if you have monetization turned off, they just keep all the money. And it says if you have an unlisted link, it will frequently still trigger ads. So I've got the monetization turned off, but they still get to run ads. I just don't get anything for it. We might have to switch to Vimeo. Rich says Discord is near live. Yeah, I don't like Discord for live streaming. They don't let you show a portion of the screen. You have to show the full screen. And so it's just much harder to manage if I can't take something off the screen and, you know, plug in a password or, you know, look at the stream health while the stream is happening and stuff like that. I really need to be able to stream part of the screen. That's why I hate doing those bookmap streams, because I have to show the full screen. Jay says, just go premium. It's worth it. Yeah, I would say for you guys, that's the way to go. Just pay for premium. Rich says it's complex, but set up streams on OBS. I will look into it. Rich says on OBS, you can choose to show a monitor. Yeah, the problem with that is you can't draw on top of it. So this drawing tool that I use, that doesn't work. If I'm just showing, for example, the market profile chart and the bookmap chart and the Thinkorswim chart, you know what I mean? If I just have those as individual things, I can't draw on top of them like this. And this is a key communication factor for me. So it has to just kind of be, it's filming the screen. But anyway, I'll research it. I'll look into it. Not right now, but at some point in the future. For now, just live with the ads. Steve says the NQ looks bearish. Let's take, wow. Yes, you are right. NQ had a gap down this morning and it's a gap and go. So you can see they opened in the A period and they tried to fill that gap and they couldn't get there. They came back down to the overnight low. They played tug of war at the overnight low and it broke lower. So this is a gap and go. This is momentum down on the NQ. You're pushing into support right now around 29,420. Look for a bounce there to come back up and test that overnight low again. But as long as you're below the opening price, it's bearish. If at some point you come and you cross back through the opening price, you may try to fill that gap again. But it's bearish as long as you're below the open. 29,594. Bearish below. ES still in a chop. A Moment with Megan says, is it just me, or does it seem like everything is led by money and greed more and more? Maybe I'm looking too deep into the YouTube thing. Yeah, I mean, you got to cut Google a break. They spent way too much money building data centers, and now they got to figure out how to pay for it. Lily says it's testing the bottom of a daily trend on the QQQ. Let's just see what happens here at the overnight low, and then we'll take a look. Okay, so that's a look below and fail of the overnight low. Once again, we are watching the halfback, 75.75 for resistance, and another poke down. If we do not get resistance there, we look for the market to come back up through the opening price. All right, let's take a look at the QQQ, see what it do. Oh, you're looking at like a swing trade trend. Yeah. Okay, so we started the morning this morning talking about how because of the one-time framing higher yesterday, I was leaning more bullish and waiting to see what happens at the overnight low to decide if I think we're still pinned or if we're going to, continue one time framing higher. I would now say I have lost that bullish feeling. Whoa, that bullish feeling. I've lost that bullish feeling and now it's gone. Doesn't mean we can't still get a look below and fail. Doesn't mean we can't still get above the overnight high. It just means to me, this is reading more like a pinned market than it is like momentum to the upside. Okay, we are grinding. First off, we're not getting any liquidation here at the overnight low, which is what we would expect. We'd expect to get a little bop. That's not happening at all. So bots are just chewing it up. They just created a poor low, which is what we expect when it's bots. And also we now have a clear difference between yesterday and today. Yesterday, value was higher. Today, value is overlapping to lower. Okay, so I'm not saying I'm bearish and I think we're going to have some massive sell-off today, but I am saying this is not momentum up. This is pinned, which means if we start to get new selling here, we're bearish to get to yesterday's low. If we get new selling there, we're bearish to get down to 75.45. Really, we could call it 43. And we're monitoring for continuation lower from there. Just saying this market definitely doesn't have momentum up. If we had momentum up, the ticks wouldn't look like this. The advancers versus decliners wouldn't look like this. So this means we are still pinned. This market is still doing what it was doing last week. And that yesterday's move was just an attempt to break away from the pin to the upside, the way Thursday's move was an attempt to break away from the pin to the downside. And as soon as it was over, we came right back to the middle, and that's what's happening here today. We're coming back to the middle again. So intraday, we're bearish. On a multi-day time frame, we are neutral. And same as the NQ, we said we're bearish as long as we're below the opening price. We can say now on the ES, we're bearish as long as we're below the overnight low. If we come back up through the overnight low, we're going to get more chop. But if we can hold it, and really we could just call it, 75.66. If we can hold that resistance, it'll keep going down. Okay, so now as we get to yesterday's low, the question is that as far as the market wants to go, or do we want to keep going to the downside from here? So same as we were just talking about with the overnight low, as long as that holds as resistance, we're still bearish. Now, if yesterday's low holds as resistance, we're bearish for the market to keep going. And the next target to the downside is the overnight low from the weekend at 75.38. We are now doing what we call monitoring for continuation lower. We're saying we know the bears are in charge. We just don't know how far they're going to go down. So what we have to do is we have to watch resistance on the way down. If the resistance holds, they're going to keep going down again. And so on and so forth as long as the market continues the momentum down. All right, so this area right here around 75.45 is where I would kind of define the pin. It is the fattest cumulative volume node in here. It's also kind of in the middle of our balance area. So to me, that's sort of the return to point where the market might run out of steam to the downside. So once again, we are watching yesterday's low for resistance. If they can hold it, we keep going down, or if we don't come back up at all, if we just keep bringing in new sellers down here, we keep going down. If not, this might be where the market makes its low and then turns around and comes back up. If we do get new selling, we just, monitor for continuation lower. So the next target, obviously, as we said, was 75.38. We get new selling down there. We look for the next move, which is down to around 75.26. We get new selling there. The next move is down to 75.11. We get new selling there. The next move is down to 74.08. Or sorry, 74.98. So I don't know how far it's going to go, and we may be making our low right now. But if we get that new selling, we just keep monitoring for continuation lower. So we are watching 75.53 for resistance. I missed this comment from earlier. Exploring CME said, Charles, overnight stalled at yesterday's regular trading hours open, TPO plus volume taper below it. Can we say that it could be a potential support, or is that not a good read interpretation? So it's not that I would say it's support, but you are correct in the idea that anytime the market tapers off time and volume, that is support. That's what that is. It was support in the overnight. But because of the exactness of it, of yesterday's opening price, I would actually assume that it would be a look below and fail, rather than like the market pushes down and then reverses at the exact same level again in the regular trading hours, which is why we consider that still inside the chop zone. So if you watched it push down there and you watched it hold as support, as long as we didn't create a weak low at the time, as long as we reversed a little bit above the low, then maybe you could say, okay, that's support. But at the market open, what you should be assuming is, even if we are going to go up, we would first look below there and then fail and come back up, because that's a very exact low. If you look at those, the T period low and the U period low and the R period low, all three of those are right on top of that opening price from yesterday. So it is possible that that could just be classic support and the market is bullish and it can just keep going up. But if that were the case, we should have opened today, come back down and then continued above the overnight high. So when you start getting that close to the overnight low, you should assume they'll flush through. But again, the flush doesn't mean we're going to go down. You need that new selling, which is what we got today, to tell you it's going to go down. The flush could be a look below and fail that then turns around and comes back up. But the exactness of that is fishy to me. And just one more part of the narrative that we've had that the market is pinned. Those exact locations. Look at the high from the overnight, exactly at yesterday's high. Look at the low from the overnight, exactly at yesterday's opening price. That kind of exactness tells us to be fishy, trusting momentum. Speaking of momentum, we are getting some new selling here, so that is bearish to see. Our next target to the downside is 75.31, 75.32. So I know I said this around the B period low, and we ended up still poking lower from there, but it does to me feel like the market is trying to hammer out a low. This doesn't feel like a strong trend to the downside. This feels more like it's just we're poking down to take out all the longs we can, to take out all the stops. And then once we have, we'll be done with the momentum. So as we are dancing around the B period low here, I'm keeping a close eye on these ticks. If the ticks stay above the zero, we will probably come back up to backfill the single prints we left behind in the B period. If the ticks get smacked back down again, well, then the trend will continue and we'll head down and make our next low. As we discussed, when it comes to monitoring for continuation, we knew it was going to go to 75.32 once we saw that new selling a few minutes ago, but we don't know if it's going to keep going. We need to see more new selling and more new selling to convince us it's going to keep going. Otherwise, at some point, it'll be done, and then we come right back up. So we're watching for that resistance. We're watching those ticks. If we get resistance here, we keep going down. We make another new low in the D period. If we don't get resistance here, we may be making our low, right now. So let's see what happens. All right, so those ticks are showing us more new selling, which means the trend will continue. We're looking to make another new low here in the D period. And the next stop to the downside is around 75.24. We will look for a bounce there and ask the question, are the sellers still in control? Can they keep smacking the market down? Of course, if we come back up and we get cessation of the trend, well, then it's over. But for now, the momentum continues. All right, folks. Well, now that we have gotten cessation of the trend, it's about to get real boring from here. Why, oh, why? Because we're about to balance. So as we discussed, our pin is going to be right here around 75.45. They tried to break away yesterday. They came back today. Once we got there, we came to a screeching halt. Look at where the volume tapers off. So the market is just still pinned. And that means it could go anywhere right now. It could go up, down, and all around. It also means we want to be taking scalp trades. We don't want to be falling in love with trades. Get in, get out quick. Lock in profits quick. We also want to be looking for trades where we can get in at exact references. So maybe we get in exactly at the A period low on a short, or exactly at the B period high on a short, or exactly at the opening price on a short. Whenever the market comes back down, if the value area has moved up, we don't go long if the value area is up against the low of the day. But if the value area moves up and the market works its way back down below value, we might choose to go long at the D period low or at the E period low. We want to use exact references to get in because the market is likely to just reverse at those exact levels. We don't know which ones, but we know wherever it reverses, the higher probabilities it'll be an exact level. So the market is rotational. Act accordingly.